view understanding of what's taking place within the FortiVoice cloud infrastructure. In terms of features and functionality, everything you guys are seeing on the screen is effectively built into the cloud platform. So it's very versatile. All the kind of core telephony and UCaaS features you'd expect are there. Things like auto attendance, hunt groups, unified messaging, voicemail to email functionality, video conferencing functions. We also support a fully embedded fax service. So effectively each endpoint can basically be its own fax machine. And that can be managed through the actual desktop client. We of course can interface with any type of legacy fax infrastructure if that's a requirement. We also support a full emergency broadcast notification server within the FortiVoice. So if there's ever any need to relay information in real time from a mass notification standpoint, that can be automated and triggered. A good use case for that is if there's ever any type of life safety event where a broadcast needs to be sent out. Once triggered, that can be sent out as both an audible message through the intercom of the handset or through a PA system, as well as a text message is notified to all the individual users. So very flexible in that regard. In terms of the endpoints, as I mentioned, the soft client is bundled into the FortiVoice cloud solution, and that's effectively what Veronica is going to be walking you through today, the configuration of the desktop soft client. The soft client can be applied to mobile devices. We support Android, we support iOS, and on the desktop front, we support Windows, Mac, and Linux. In terms of the usability features, everything you'd expect to be there is there. There's dialing functionalities, call recording, the fax functions. On our next release, which is actually happening next week, we're also pushing out our instant messaging and SMS capabilities. So if there's need to potentially have an alternative to something like a Microsoft Teams as an example, the solution is effectively designed for full collab services. We also do a full integration into Microsoft, so potentially for any existing customer that has an Office 365 environment, this effectively allows us to use the Microsoft Teams platform as almost like a mission control layer for anything related back to the FortiVoice. We effectively support application-based integration through the Microsoft APIs, and then effectively all of the end user features are propagated into the Microsoft Teams client. So again, definitely designed to work in tandem with those Microsoft's core platform. In terms of the management of the FortiVoice Cloud solution, it's very straightforward. You effectively just log into the FortiCloud portal, you select the FortiVoice instance. Once that's been triggered, it gives you access to the full backend FortiVoice Cloud dashboard. And this is where you'd manage all of the PSTN resources for things like E911, for things like DIDs and phone numbers. Again, this is a full turnkey service. We're partnered with national carriers on the backend to effectively allow for the last mile PSTN telephony service to function. And again, all of that is bundled in as part of the turnkey solution. There's also a dedicated administrative interface, and that's effectively where you do the configuration of the extensions, move, add, change functionality. And again, Veronica is going to touch on some of that today through the technical session. In terms of the physical endpoints, we do have a variety of physical phones. These are typically spec'd out just based on individual users. They typically range in price from about $100 to about $400, depending. But effectively, we pretty much have a hardware-based solution for whatever the use case is. So whether it's your basic office user, whether it's your more advanced executive receptionist, we definitely have you covered. We also have some cordless units and some conference phones that are available. The handsets can be full zero-touch provisioned via the FortiVoice Cloud proxy. We also allow for direct provisioning on the handsets. And this is a shot here that effectively allows the handset to take the secure user credentials generated by the cloud and be given to individual users who can then input those directly into the extension and effectively allow for zero-touch provisioning at the end user level. So again, very flexible and very, very easy to deploy. We also support a series of survivable gateways, and these units can be used in a similar fashion to say what Cisco would do with an ISR for SRST functionalities. What that effectively means is if there's need to have telephony-based redundancy at individual branch locations and a distributed topology, these local gateways can be deployed at the individual sites and will effectively act as a redundant lifeline in the event of a catastrophic ISP or WAN failure. We also do have a series of interface gateways, so if there's need for analog devices or PRI to be interconnected to our cloud, that's also fully supported. From an overall topology, the solution is pretty straightforward. Effectively, again, plug and play back to our cloud. As I did mention before, there's full automation. So again, if there's an existing Fortinet infrastructure, we can use FortiSwitch and FortiGate to create our VLANs locally and enable those traffic shaping policies through our SD-WAN product back to our FortiVoice cloud. For remote users, they can just connect through whatever ISP source they have. And again, the core Fortinet components are not a prerequisite, so this can be sold and activated as a complete standalone product. There's definitely some advantages from an automation perspective in an existing Fortinet environment. In terms of the survivable gateways, those can be deployed at branch offices that require localized redundancy. Exact same topology. The only difference is the phones are primarily registered to the cloud. They're secondarily registered to the gateways. In the event that there's some sort of catastrophic WAN failure, the gateway in effect will take over, provide business continuity services, and then access to a redundant PSTN resource. And again, all of this is centrally managed through that core cloud platform. In terms of the solution as a whole, it's structured in a very easy model. And again, I'll quickly go over the licensing model. It's typically based on an annualized license. Again, very easy. It's based at a manufacturer's MSRP of $100 a year per extension. That includes all the features, functionalities that we've just reviewed, as well as the inclusion of 3 endpoints. So the soft clients are obviously bundled into that. And then if users want to use a physical handset, it's just a matter of acquiring those and connecting them. But those 3 endpoints can be distributed based on whatever the customer's requirements are on the back end. So it could be all soft clients, it could be all mobile clients, all hard phones. It's very flexible. And then the SIP circuit is a global resource that's poolable. So we don't force our customers to have a one-to-one concurrent SIP session to extension ratio. We effectively allow our customers to pool their global concurrent SIP sessions and then share those. A good example is if we have a user maybe who has 100 endpoints, potentially they're coming from a PRI, we can effectively spool up 23 concurrent SIP sessions and effectively have that customer share that resource. Using that model, there's also a significant TCO advantage in terms of the overall pricing. And we're more than happy to work with the folks over at Blackhawk to do individualized quotes whenever appropriate. That's pretty much the high level of what the FortiVoice Cloud is. What I'd like to do now is turn this over to Veronica and have her kind of go through the back end and begin the fast track from a core configuration and extension configuration perspective. And any questions, feel free to ask away in the comments and we'll address as they come. Thanks so much for the time today.
All right, thank you, Phil, for that. So I'm Veronica. I'm the consulting systems engineer for the FortiVoice product. So what I'm going to start with is obviously I'm going to be doing the actual fast track training for the FortiVoice Cloud and utilizing the desktop soft client. So let me just go ahead and share my screen here. All right, so you should be able to see my PowerPoint presentation. So basically, give me a second here. It's skipped over to the end. So in the email that was sent out earlier today, you would have been alerted of some lab prerequisites, obviously needing to have a working laptop computer that's either running Windows or Mac, definitely needing the internet access in order to use the FortiVoice Cloud, and then obviously the recommended browsers. If you have not yet downloaded and installed the FortiVoice desktop client, I recommend doing that right now. So you just need to visit fortivoice-cloud.com and just simply scroll down to the bottom of the page, and then you'll have the links here, buttons that you can click on to download either the desktop soft client for Windows or for Mac. Logging into the FortiCloud support portal. So once you have the licenses registered, and I think I actually will touch on that, all of that is done through the FortiCloud support portal. So visiting support.fortinet.com. If you want to go ahead and do that now, just to have it ready, that'd be great. You would click on login now and log in with the appropriate credentials, and I'll be providing you that shortly. So when you go into the FortiCloud support portal, as I mentioned, it's going to take you to the asset management dashboard, and here is where you'll be registering the cloud entitlement. So the cloud consists of two license types, one for the trunks and one that is the seat license. It doesn't matter which order you register first, but once it's registered, that will generate the serial number for the FortiVoice Cloud instance. And then you'll be able to see that, of course, on your product list. So now I'd like you to go ahead and log in. So looking at the screen, you'll see the email address, which would be fvetraining@gmail.com, and the password being !, the word cloud with a capital C, capital DEC, and 21. So once you've logged in, I'll just give everybody a moment to do that. And actually, let me switch to a different. Give me a second here. Just going to just quickly stop sharing my screen here for a moment. I'm just going to switch over to a different monitor here. Oh, did that not show up? Oh, there we go. So basically, this is where you're going to be at, putting in the email address and the credentials. So when you go ahead and click on login, you're going to choose the primary or secondary account. And then I've created 10 different cloud instances, so everyone's name is associated to it. So just choose the one, obviously, that matches with your name, and then go ahead and click on continue to make the connection. All right, so once everyone has done that, I'm just going to go back to my PowerPoint presentation here. So once you've done the login, where is my... There we go. So this we've already done, selecting the email address, and then clicking on the cloud instance that's associated to your name. Then you're going to go ahead and click on finish. And this is going to take you into the FortiVoice Cloud service portal. So you'll notice in the dashboard that they have already been deployed. So this is something that was done already ahead of time for this session. Because when you do deploy, and I'll touch on this, it does take a bit of time before it becomes available. So we want to ensure that this was already prepared ahead of time. I'm just going to now break down the service portal that you're looking at. So this is the area where you'll be able to monitor the status of the cloud licenses, status of the trunk service, along with the status of the actual cloud instance. When you click on the blue deploy button, that is going to initiate the wizard, the deployment wizard. So it's going to prompt you to whether you want to start with the a brand new configuration, or if you have a backup from a different cloud instance, you can have the opportunity to upload that. Next, you'll have the ability to configure the outbound dial plan rules. Now, this is something that you could do ahead of time. You don't need to do it right away. It's something that you can do later on once you connect to the FortiVoice management interface. The third step is, again, giving you the opportunity to upload an extension CSV file. Again, something that can be performed later on once you connect to the FortiVoice admin portal. Next, step 4 would be selecting the closest data center to you, East Coast, West Coast. So if you choose the East Coast, then the West location would be the backup in the event of a failover event. So that's something that's happening on the back end, nothing that you would need to worry about setting up. And then lastly, it would just be a matter of choosing the country and the appropriate time zone. So once you've click on the last step to deploy, then the status on the dashboard is going to indicate that it is in the process of deploying. That can take about 3 to 4 hours. And then once you connect into the, and you'll see that on in your cloud instance, that you'll see that it's deployed, and at the bottom of that widget, you'll see a link that now appears that allows you to connect to the FortiVoice management interface. So we're not going to go into that just yet. I just wanted to continue a little bit more of the FortiVoice Cloud Service Portal. So prior to deploying the cloud instance, you do need to have at least one DID number configured with the E911 information, and that would be performed under Trunk's DID management. So if you go there now, you'll see that a number has already been created and associated to the cloud instance. So under the DID management, well, actually, before I touch on that, there is the porting process. So to the left of the left menu under trunks, you'll have the local number portability feature, which obviously, if you're moving from the incumbent PBX to now this FortiVoice Cloud, you'll have the ability to port your existing phone numbers into the cloud. So with the local number portability, that's going to walk you through the process of filling out the LOA form, as well as uploading your phone bill to indicate that you own those phone numbers. For the initial deployment, like as I mentioned, we do need to have at least one DID number in place. With the porting process, we're pretty good at getting the numbers ported over within a few days. But if you wanted to have the cloud instance deployed sooner, then you can create a new DID. And again, that would be done under the Trunk DID management. So here is where you will create a DID profile, giving it a name. You can then select an available DID, which you can do a search by locations. So selecting the state, the city, and then you'll have under the number here field a drop-down list of the available numbers. The other form of searching for a new DID would be by just doing a search of area code. And again, we'll provide the listing of the available DIDs that you can choose from. Once the DID number has been selected, then you will need to enter in the E911 information, which is very critical. We need to have at least one DID with the E911 information configured for the deployment of the cloud instance, as well as just for the cloud instance itself in order to process emergency calls. You will see an option at the top that you have the ability to add an emergency zone for the DID. So what that means is there's an emergency zone feature available within FortiVoice. This emergency zone profile is created, so it just makes it easy when you're setting up the extensions to point the extension to the appropriate emergency zone profile. So again, if you deselect that, then it's just a matter of having to manually create the emergency zone profile, which again, you would do within the FortiVoice administrative portal. All right, and as I mentioned, once the cloud has been deployed and the trunk service is active, you'll then have that link to connect to the FortiVoice administrative portal. And then the next slide I have here is again just showing the cloud instance that's been associated to those participants that are taking part today, along with the associated DID. So clicking on that FortiVoice link, that is going to take you directly now into the FortiVoice admin portal, administrative portal. So here, again, very similar to the FortiVoice on-prem if you're familiar with that, or with any of the Fortinet products like the FortiGate or FortiSwitches. The management interface is very similar, uses the same FortiOS code. So, just provides that familiarity for those who already have Fortinet products. All right, so this is where we're going to start the lab session. So if you have already downloaded and installed the desktop soft client, just go ahead and launch that, just so that you have it ready. The next first step that you're going to take is to create a brand new extension. So from the menu on the left, you're going to choose extension, and then IP extension. You're going to click on new and then enter a new extension number. So with the extension number, the length of that minimum is 3 digits. Maximum, I believe, is like 15, 16 digits. So again, you have that flexibility if there's a need for that. I don't think that's something that we've come across very often. Then you'll want to enter in a name in the display name field, and then click on create on the bottom right. So once that's created, you're now going to see the extension listed on that same IP extension page. So I know we're going to be configuring the desktop soft client. I just want to take a moment on how it would look like for the configuration of the IP phones, for the FortiPhones, in fact. So you'll set up the extension the same way. When you edit the extension, and actually you could see this with the extension that you've created. If you edit that existing extension, you'll see on the bottom right 4 tabs: management, web access, phone access, and cloud. If you click on that cloud tab, you'll see that there's a cloud ID associated to it. It'll reflect the extension number, and then the cloud PIN is something that you would need to generate. So that information is what is utilized to auto provision the FortiPhones, the IP handsets. So that information would be entered into the phone, and then you would just simply submit it, and the phone should register within a matter of seconds to the FortiVoice cloud instance. And you'll see that registration status appear. So while you're there right now within the extension settings, what you want to do is go to the device setting, and under that, you're going to click on the Soft FortiPhone tab, and then you're going to click on the link that says View Desktop Login Information, as you see here on the screen. This is going to contain the provisioning information for your desktop soft client. So So yeah, keep that obviously open. And if you launch your desktop soft client, or if you already have it open, um, you'll want to now enter that information into the appropriate field. So the server name, the username, along with the associated password. So exactly what you see here. So you can do a copy and paste to make that configuration that much quicker. So, and also avoiding any typos. So once it has registered, and actually I'm just going to switch over to my other screen here. Just give me a second here. Oh, where did my... Okay, just give me a second here. I'm just going to log into a different account. All right. I'm just going to log into a different account here. So this is from my own lab here. And you'll just notice on my lab here, like you will be notified in regards to the status of the licenses. So the cloud licenses, it's an annual purchase, but you will be notified when it's going to expire. So here I have this, red exclamation icon that shows up, and if I move my mouse over that, it's telling me that it's going to expire within 30 days. So I need to act on that to ensure that I can continue using the cloud. If the license expires, then your configuration doesn't disappear. It's just you just need to update it with new licenses in order to again gain access to the management interface. I'm just going to go ahead and connect to my FortiVoice Cloud and go to my extension here. Let me just minimize this here a little bit. So you'll see I have a few extensions that are in place here. One for the physical handset, which is currently not registered at the moment. It's linked to my FortiVoice appliance. But you have here the desktop soft client. So this is what we're looking for. And I have the desktop soft client here. You could see that it's got the green icon showing that it's registered. You'll also see that from the management interface. And if you mouse over that, you'll see the date and timestamp. You'll see the IP address that it's coming from. Not only can you view the status of the extension here, but that could also be displayed under the monitor section. If you go to extension and device and click on the soft FortiPhone tab, I'm just going to enlarge this here. You'll also be able to see the status here as well. And you'll also be able to see, what devices are being utilized to connect back to the FortiVoice system. You also have the ability from a system admin standpoint to revoke the license if needed. So with that desktop soft client, you should be able to make an outgoing call. So your cloud instances have already been predefined with an outbound dial plan rule, the outgoing default profile. I think the number pattern is slightly different. I think it's configured with the prefix 9 and then dialing the 10-digit number. It could also be dialed without the prefix. So 9x period is what you would see there. But just taking a look at the outbound dial plan rule, it's just a matter of defining the appropriate number pattern to match the phone number that a user is initiating to make an outgoing call. So if a prefix is required or not, we can mirror that. and the call handling automatically routes out to the appropriate trunks. For incoming calls, we're using the incoming default profile. So here on my system, I have it set to go to an auto attendant, but in your cloud instance, it is configured, already pre-configured to route to the auto attendant default greeting. So that greeting, if you were to call in on the DID that's been created on your cloud instance, that will take you to the auto attendant, which will prompt you to enter in the extension number. So that's one way to test the incoming call, to the extension and ensure that it rings to your desktop soft client. And when you pick up, you can confirm as well that you can, you're getting audio both ways. Of course, the same thing could be done on the outgoing side. Now, focusing on the desktop soft client, if we take a look at it here, you'll have the same call control as the physical handset. So being able to make, receive calls, do a blind or screen transfer. You also have the ability to initiate a three-way call. You could dial the extension number, you can enter in a name, and it will provide you with the output that you would just simply select to engage the call. You also have visibility to the call history. So every call that has been made and received to the extension would show up within here. So essentially the call detail records. And actually, you know what, oh no, I don't have the other handset registered. Let me see if I can just do that fairly quickly here. Just give me a second. So I can call from one extension to another. So as you can see, the cloud plan has expired, so I'm generating a new one here. And just give me a moment here. I'm just going to get that phone to register. While I'm doing that, I hope that everyone has been able to successfully register their desktop soft client and are testing the incoming and outgoing calls. All right, so unfortunately I have to default this phone. So that may take a while here. Actually, no, it's coming up. Just give me a moment here. Just a couple more minutes and I should be able to get this handset registered. But as you can see, as I'm going through the setup of the extensions, the dial plan rules, the management interface is very intuitive, easy to use, easy to configure the extensions. Every extension that you do set up on the system will come with its own personal mailbox. So you can, on the desktop soft clients, either dial *97 or hold down the 1 key to be routed into the mailbox, and that will walk you through the mailbox setup. You can change from the standard greeting to a new greeting, set a voicemail password, etc. So the default password for voicemail is set to 123 £. But like I mentioned, that's something that can be adjusted. Other features that are available for the extensions is the voicemail to email notification. So we can enter in the email addresses for every user. And again, this could be part of that CSV upload that you enter into the system that already contains the email address. And then we can include the voicemail as the attachment. The other thing that could also be done is management of the extension call handling. So depending on what state the extension is in, if there's no answer, or if it's busy, or if they've engaged do not disturb, then by default, it's already predefined to go to the user's personal mailbox, but we can easily switch this over to user defined, where a different action can then be applied, like engaging follow me or call forwarding. And these actions could be different based on based on a particular schedule, like business hours versus after hours. It could also be based on where the call is stemming from. So internal calls always ring the phone. Actually, sorry, let me go into the no answer here. So under the no answer for internal calls, always ring the phone. But if it's an outside call coming in, maybe route that directly to voicemail. All right, so just give me a second here. I'm just going to get this handset to register. So I'm just entering the cloud ID. And then make sure I get the PIN code right here. All right, so that's been submitted. And it says it's registering with the FortiVoice Cloud. And now it says that it's registered, and on the phone, I had flashing red lights. Now it's solid green. So now if I refresh this page, we can now see that physical handset has now been registered successfully. And again, we can view that under the monitor section under extension and device. We can see that handset registration status shown here. So yeah, all that information is available. All right, let me go back to my PowerPoint presentation here. So let me just stop sharing that screen. So we're pretty much come to the end of the lab here. Wanted you guys to experience how quickly it is to get the cloud instance up and running, configuration of the extensions, the dial plan rules. So that's something that, as you could see, was fairly easy. Now, some of these things I've already touched on, but just wanted to bring up the resources. So we have numerous resources available.
Oh, it looks like I may have lost audio. Sorry about that. So yeah, I was just touching on the resources slide here, but as you can see, just visit docs.fortinet.com to access the deployment guide, the admin guide, the FAQs, and then visit video.fortinet.com to take a look at the FortiVoice Cloud videos. Oh, it looks like my screen was not sharing. Sorry about that. There we go. And now, yeah, so sorry about that, guys, but if we want to, I'm pretty much done with the fast track training lab here. So for anyone that has some last words, you can go ahead.
Hi, everyone. It's Marianne Pagano again. Thanks for joining us today. I thank to Phil and Veronica from Fortinet and the Fortinet team. As I mentioned earlier, we've had a lot of success deploying Fortinet everywhere from small locations, whether they were education, 200-300 users, up into 3,000-4,000 users in healthcare facilities. We've done a really great job, and the customers are very, very happy and delighted with their solution. They're using it actively today. We just finished a deployment for one agency and about 3,500 users, along with the contact center solution. So they're all really happy. So I think that if anyone that's been on here working with Phil and Veronica are interested in Fortinet and their FortiVoice solution, you can reach out to your Fortinet account manager. Again, I'm Marianne Pagano, I'm Blackhawk Data CEO. You can reach out to someone on the Blackhawk Data team, and one of us will be glad to help you. Phil and Veronica are always available for any kind of one-on-one demos anyone's looking for. If you have an interest, we're here. We would love to talk to you about it. And thank you again for your time, everyone. Thank you.